Do you know how much your other half makes? If you don't, it could be a sign that as a couple, there are cracks in your household's financial foundation. Joining us today is John Sweeney, Executive Vice President at Fidelity Investments, and he's going to share findings of a new survey about couples and retirement. Welcome to the show, John.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, now let's start right off because this is a great survey with a lot of good information. Were you surprised that so many couples could not correctly identify what their significant other earns?
We were surprised. When we asked couples, do you communicate well with your spouse about financial issues, more than two-thirds said, yes, we do. But when we dug a little bit deeper, about 43% of the couples we surveyed couldn't correctly articulate what their spouse brought home. So we found that surprising and indicated perhaps there are more cracks in a family's financial foundation than we had anticipated.
Mm-hmm. Now, what are other things? What other things do couples disagree about? I mean, obviously we know there's always a disagreement sometimes with financial issues and different decisions. Tell a little bit about what the survey found about that.
So it's important for folks to be aligned around a couple of key things in life, around goals that you're trying to share and solve for together. So let's take retirement, for example. For folks nearing retirement, they couldn't correctly describe what their retirement would look like. Are they going to live in their current home? Are they going to downsize and move near the grandkids? Or are they going to move to a retirement community? So those softer conversations need to happen first because they're indicators of how much expense you're going to need to cover in retirement. And then once you've figured out what those expenses are, then you want to think about how to structure an income stream that covers those expenses. But when you don't really know what your lifestyle is going to look like, you don't have a great sense of how much money you have in your nest egg, and you don't know what Social Security is going to provide you, it's challenging to be successful around retirement.
Mm-hmm. Now, what's keeping couples from having these important conversations about finances? Is it just something they're not used to, or what are some of the things that stop these conversations from happening?
I think societally we're taught not to talk about money issues. We're taught not to ask what other people make. We are taught not to talk about what we make. And so I think that coming into a relationship, you have a natural reticence to speaking about your income. What's challenging, though, is you're trying to build a life together. You need to be transparent. You share many other hopes and dreams with your spouse. You talk about whether you want to have children together or not. And so you want to be sure that you're putting on the table the goals that you share and what you're bringing to the table to help accomplish some of those goals. So it's important that you establish goals, whether they're retirement, kids' college, saving for a home. Make sure that you're carving off part of your income each month or each week to put towards those goals. And then you figure out how to budget and work together on how to solve the expenses that you need to get through the month. So whether that's paying off debt from college or a car that you're trying to pay off or pay off the mortgage, or you're trying to figure out how much you should spend on vacation this summer, you want to be aligned on those goals so that you don't feel like you're working at odds with your spouse.
Mm-hmm. Now, there are some absolute musts that every couple needs to discuss, and you touched upon a couple of them. Talk about that a little bit more, and just also about the comfort of talking about money and ways that Fidelity can help that happen.
Sure. So at Fidelity, we talk about the 3 C's. It's communicate, collaborate, and control. And that communication is critical. Have the conversation and have it in an environment that's comfortable for you. If you have to make an appointment with your spouse and say, hey, you know what, this money issue is making me a little bit uncomfortable. Can we schedule some time on Saturday morning, sit down over a cup of coffee and go through our financial situation? It would make me feel more confident. Then work collaboratively. Work towards that goal, establish what you want to save to achieve some of those goals, and make sure that you're not spending off to the side. If you feel like your spouse has misaligned goals and is spending more on shopping or their hobbies like golfing or what have you, you're not going to feel confident in your joint ability to solve the goal together. And then have some control. Be able to go back regularly, once a month or so, and have a conversation about the budget and say, are we still within budget? Are we still putting enough towards our goals? And are we likely to achieve them? And if you do those, the communication, collaboration, and control, you'll feel much more confident in your ability to achieve the goals as a couple, but also you'll feel confident in your spouse's ability to succeed should you not be there, which is especially important for older Americans, and particularly for women, who are much more likely to outlive their male counterparts by about 7 years.
Right. Now, and this is also a great tool for young people, too, because, I mean, it seems like the way that people are dealing with their future, this new generation of young people that are out there, this is something they can take advantage of as well.
Absolutely. We've in fact created a couples quiz available at fidelity.com/couples quiz. It's 9 simple questions. You can go through, answer the questions, and then email the quiz to your spouse. He or she can take it, and then you can compare and contrast your answers. So it's a simple way to break the ice and begin the dialogue. And it's important for couples of all ages to get aligned around what are the issues that we want to focus on, how are we going to solve them within our family relationship, and make sure that we have a continuing dialogue around our family financial situation so that we avoid having any of those cracks in our foundation.
Now, this is just great information. The survey just seems so robust and full of great tips, and also the ability and the materials that Fidelity has created to really help people manage this conversation and to help actually, as you mentioned before, break the ice. So tell us, where can our viewers go to find out more about this and get some great helpful tips?
We have some more resources available at fidelity.com. I'd start with that couples quiz. You can also subscribe to our weekly Viewpoints newsletter. We offer insights on the market, investing ideas, and personal financial tips to make sure that you're more successful in planning no matter what stage of life you're in. You can also get additional help at one of our branches or at 1-800-FIDELITY. Our representatives are trained to bring two halves of a couple together, ask some simple questions to help begin the dialogue and break the ice. So bring in somebody from Fidelity when you have a challenge getting through the conversation on your own. We can help you do this dialogue because we do it thousands of times a day.
Well, John, thank you so much. This is incredible information and a very interesting survey, and great to know that there's a place we can go to get some tips that can really help us make this happen and make it happen for people around us as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Great. Thank you for having me.